My name is Vivian Hartwell. I was 29 years old when one sentence ended, the relationship I had spent 2 years trying to protect. My boyfriend looked me straight in the eyes during my mother's birthday dinner and said, "It's your mother or me. Choose." Right now? I smiled. Then I stood up, helped my mother into her coat, and said, "Let's go find dessert somewhere quieter." That was the moment everything changed. Until then, I honestly believed Ethan and I had a future together. We had been dating for 2 years and living in my apartment for the previous 8 months. The apartment belonged to me. My name was on the lease. My furniture filled every room. I had imagined us eventually buying a house together. Instead, I found myself watching the man I loved become someone I barely recognized. My father had passed away 3 years earlier. Losing him shattered my mother, Evaine, who was 58. But she rebuilt her life, one careful step at a time. She joined a book club, volunteered twice a week, made new friends, and never once expected me to become her emotional caretaker. We shared dinner together twice a month, 4 hours. That was our entire tradition. Sometimes my older sister joined us when she was back in town. Most of the time it was simply Mom and me eating homemade food, laughing about old stories, arguing over crossword clues, and pretending neither of us missed Dad quite as much as we actually did. When Ethan and I first started dating, he loved those dinners. He used to tell people how refreshing it was to see a family that actually enjoyed spending time together. That version of him slowly disappeared. About 6 months before everything exploded, the comments started. "Do we really have to go every other Sunday? Your mom depends on you a little too much. Don't you think healthy adults should have more distance?" Every time he said something, I answered calmly, "My mom has her own life. She never demands anything. It's just dinner." He always nodded afterward. "I understand." Looking back now, I don't think he understood anything. He was waiting until he thought he had enough influence over me to make me choose. My mother's birthday reservation had been on the calendar for weeks. Her favorite Italian restaurant, her favorite table by the window. She had been talking about the tiramisu all month. The morning of dinner, Ethan casually announced he wanted to come. I smiled. Of course. I actually thought it was a good sign. Maybe he wanted to reconnect. Maybe we'd finally put the tension behind us. For the first 20 minutes, everything felt normal. We ordered appetizers. Mom asked Ethan about work. He laughed. She laughed. I remember thinking maybe I'd imagined how bad things had become. Then Ethan placed his fork down. "Evaine," he said with an easy smile that somehow felt rehearsed, "don't you think it's time to loosen the reins a little? Vivienne's almost 30. Mom blinked. "I'm sorry. The dinners? The constant family traditions? Don't you think she deserves space?" Mom looked genuinely confused. "I've never stopped her from living her life." "I know," Ethan replied. "I'm just saying healthy boundaries matter." I felt my stomach tighten. "Ethan," I interrupted softly, "let's change the subject." He ignored me. Eventually, she'll have her own family. She can't keep putting you first forever." Mom slowly placed her fork on the plate. "I don't ask her to put me first. Really." He leaned back. "Because from where I sit, she always chooses you." The restaurant suddenly felt much quieter. I noticed the couple beside us glance over. Mom answered with remarkable calm, "These dinners aren't obligations. They're traditions. For both of us." Ethan rolled his eyes. "Sure." I recognized that expression. He had already decided how the evening would end. Then he turned toward me. "So let's settle it." He folded his hands together. "Vivienne, your mother? Or me? Choose." The silence around our table became almost physical. Someone dropped a fork somewhere across the dining room. Even our waiter froze halfway through another table's order. I looked at Ethan. Really looked at him. At the confidence in his face. At the certainty that I'd fold under pressure. 3 seconds passed. "That's easy." I stood up, walked around the table, helped Mom into her coat. "There's a gelato place 2 blocks away. I said, with a smile. I've heard their pistachio is incredible. Ethan stared. What? You asked me to choose? You're actually leaving. Yes. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious. His voice cracked. So that's it. I reached into my purse. The checks already paid. His expression shifted from confusion to disbelief. You prepaid. I stopped by the restroom earlier. I had a feeling tonight might become memorable. You planned this? No. I hoped you'd surprise me. You did. Just not in the way I wanted. Mom quietly slipped her hand through my arm. We started walking toward the exit. Behind us, Ethan's voice echoed through the restaurant. This is manipulation. You have an unhealthy attachment to your mother. You'll regret this. Neither of us looked back. The gelato really was excellent. Mom didn't ask many questions. She simply said, I'm sorry your evening turned into this. I squeezed her hand. Suwangi. When I finally returned home around 10 that night, my phone nearly overheated. 63 missed calls. Hundreds of messages. Some begged, some insulted, some accused, some apologized. One message read, that little performance was cute. Come home. Another read, your mom must be proud. Then came one that made me physically recoil. Maybe your mother can replace me in your bed. I stared at the screen for a long time. 2 years together? And this was who he really was. I typed exactly one reply. The movers arrive tomorrow at 9. Please don't be there. Then I turned my phone face down, packed another box, and went to sleep wondering whether he truly believed I was bluffing. Monday morning arrived cold and bright. The kind of morning that makes betrayal look almost ordinary. Adopt patruzeci și cinci? I pulled up outside my apartment with my friend Marcellus, who owned a small moving company. 3 movers. And more boxes than I thought my life would need. Ethan was there. Of course he was. He opened the door, wearing my old college sweatshirt. Eyes red. Hair messy. Voice soft, like he had practiced being wounded. Babe. You're not thinking clearly. I stepped past him. Don't call me that. One fight doesn't mean we throw away 2 years. You gave me an ultimatum between you and my mother at her birthday dinner. I was making a point. Point received. I pointed down the hallway. Please move. I need to get to my dresser. His face hardened. This is my home too. No. Ethan. It's my apartment. My lease. My deposit. My bills. You moved in because your roommate left and I cared about you. He stood in front of the bedroom door. So now you're humiliating me. No. I'm removing myself. That was when he called his mother. Patricia arrived 20 minutes later, like she had been waiting nearby for her entrance. She swept into the apartment. Expensive perfume first. Judgment second. What is this nonsense? I kept folding clothes into a box. It's called moving. You don't destroy a relationship over one emotional sentence. It wasn't one sentence. It was 6 months of resentment. And then he humiliated my mother in public. Patricia's eyes narrowed. Men say things when they're emotional. So do women. We still have to own them. She turned to Ethan. He loves you. Vivienne. He's been planning a future. A future where I abandon my family to prove loyalty? I looked at him. No. The movers kept working around us with impressive discipline. Then, Ethan's voice cracked. My stomach dropped. But not for the reason he expected. Who? He stared at the floor. My ex-girlfriend. The air left the room. For 6 months, he had accused my mother of being the problem. For 6 months he had called my family unhealthy. And now, there it was. Ugly and sudden. Hiding under the table the whole time. I whispered. Clara. He didn't answer. That was enough. Patricia put one hand over her mouth. I laughed once. Not because anything was funny, but because my body didn't know what else to do. So, last night wasn't about my mother. It was, he said quickly. It was also Complicated. Complicated means you were seeing your ex. It was one time. Then why did you say you're pregnant like that was going to stop me? I panicked. Patricia looked disgusted. Ethan Michael. He turned on her. Don't. But she was already backing toward the door. I raised you better than this. Then she left. For the first time? Ethan looked truly afraid. Vivienne. Please. I didn't know how to tell you. You didn't tell me. You weaponized it. I made a mistake. No. A mistake is forgetting a birthday candle. This was betrayal with timing. By noon, everything that belonged to me was loaded. I left the couch and kitchen table we had bought together. Fair was fair. I took my books, my clothes, my desk, my photographs, and the coffee mugs my father had collected from road trips. Ethan stood in the doorway as Marcellus closed the truck. Where are you even going? Storage unit, for most of it. Marcellus's guest room for a few weeks. You already planned this. I prepared for the possibility that one day love would stop feeling safe. His face twisted. You're really ending 2 years over dinner. No. I looked at him one final time. You ended it when you made me choose. Clara just explained why. Tuesday through Thursday were quieter. But not peaceful. Ethan texted constantly. I'm sorry. You destroyed us. Clara means nothing. My mother hates me now. Please come home. Your mother ruined us. I love you. I didn't answer. Friday afternoon. He came to my workplace. I was a financial analyst at a mid-size firm. It was the kind of office where the loudest drama was usually someone stealing oat milk from the fridge. Not that day. Reception called my desk. Vivienne, there's an Ethan here. He says it's urgent. I went downstairs and found him in the lobby with a cardboard box. Every gift I had ever given him was inside. Movie tickets, birthday cards, a scarf. I bought him our first Christmas. A small framed photo from our anniversary trip. He dumped it all onto the floor. My coworkers slowly gathered near the glass doors. Ethan. Leave. Not until you admit you're punishing me because you're scared. Security is on the way. You'd call security on me. After you came to my job to perform pain for strangers, yes. He picked up the framed photo and smashed it against the floor. This is what you did. Glass scattered across the marble. I didn't flinch. That seemed to bother him more than anger would have. Security arrived. 2 men who looked tired, before they even heard the story. Sit. You need to leave. This is a private conversation with my girlfriend. Ex-girlfriend. I corrected. He pointed at me. She abandoned me when I needed her most. I quietly said. You cheated on me with Clara. The lobby went silent. Even he stopped moving. Security escorted him out while he shouted that I was cold, heartless, and controlled by my mother. Afterward, Janet from HR pulled me aside. Are you safe? I nodded. Then I realized I wasn't completely sure. Saturday morning. I was making coffee in Marcellus's kitchen when his phone rang. It was his girlfriend. Keiko. Why is some guy named Ethan messaging me on Instagram saying, you're hiding a dangerous woman? He had found Marcellus through my tagged photos. Then found Keiko. Then sent her a long message about how I was emotionally abusive, unstable, and destroying his life. Keiko already knew everything. She replied with 1 clown emoji and 1 sentence. Sit. Find a therapist. He blocked her. By Sunday, he sent Patricia to my mother's house. Mom called me in a voice too calm to be real. Honey, Patricia is here. I drove over immediately. When I walked in, Patricia was sitting in my mother's living room drinking tea like a diplomat sent to negotiate a surrender. Vivienne is having a crisis. Patricia was saying. She needs guidance. Not encouragement. Mom looked at me. Then back at Patricia. Are you finished? Patricia blinked. I'm trying to help. No. Mom said softly. You're trying to make me pressure my daughter into forgiving your son. Patricia straightened. Ethan made mistakes. He humiliated me at my birthday dinner. Mom said. Then he betrayed my daughter and blamed our family for it. He loves her. No, Mom replied. He loves being chosen. There is a difference. Patricia stood. This will destroy him. I finally spoke. He should have thought about that before Clara. Patricia's face went pale. She left without another word. That night, Ethan posted online about women who never grow up. Women who run to mommy. Women who punish men for being honest. He tagged me. I didn't respond. My sister did. Wild way to confess, you cheated. But okay. Then Clara commented, please don't drag me into a relationship you lied about ending. And that was when the whole story caught fire. After Clara's comment, the story spread faster than I ever could have imagined. People who had believed Ethan's version suddenly had questions he couldn't answer. Why had he been messaging his ex? Why had he tried to make my mother the villain? Why had he demanded that I choose between the two people who had never actually been competing? I didn't participate. I muted the notifications. Signed the lease on a quiet, one-bedroom apartment closer to work. And focused on building a life that no longer revolved around cleaning up someone else's emotional disasters. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. Wednesday evening, Ethan texted me from another new number. So, you already found another apartment? I ignored it. You moved on fast. Still nothing. The next message arrived an hour later. I drove past Marcellus's place. Your car wasn't there. I stared at the screen. Then, another message. Who's the guy? I laughed quietly. For weeks, he had accused me of choosing my mother over him. Now he couldn't imagine that I might simply be living my own life. Friday night. He sent one more message. I know you're with someone. For the first time in days. I answered, I'm at my mother's house. He replied immediately. Seriously, we're playing Scrabble. On a Friday night. Yes. He sent 3 typing bubbles that disappeared. Then one sentence. I'm coming over. I showed my mother the message. She sighed, shook her head, and calmly put another letter on the board. If he comes? She said. I'll answer the door. 20 minutes later, headlights stopped outside. We watched through the living room window as Ethan sat in his car, gripping the steering wheel. He looked exhausted. For a brief second, I almost felt sorry for him. Then, I remembered the birthday dinner. The lies, Clara. The public scene at my office, the endless messages, the sympathy disappeared. He finally walked to the front door and rang the bell. Mom opened it. Ethan. I need to talk to Vivienne. I don't think she wants that. That's her decision. I stepped into the hallway behind my mother. It is. He looked relieved to see me. 5 minutes. No. I deserve closure. You had closure the moment you gave me an ultimatum. I was scared. So was I. I thought you cared more about your mother than me. I cared about someone who never asked me to choose. His shoulders dropped. I'll change. I believe you might. But I won't be here to watch. He tried to step forward. Mom shifted slightly. It wasn't aggressive. It was simply enough to remind him he wasn't coming inside. You need to leave, she said. He looked at both of us. I loved you. I answered honestly. I loved the man I thought you were. He stood there another few seconds before turning around. As he drove away, my mother smiled gently. Your turn. I looked at the Scrabble board. She had just played another 7-letter word. I laughed harder than I had in weeks. Moving day finally arrived. Marcellus and his crew were helping again. The truck was nearly full when a familiar silver sedan pulled into the parking lot. Every mover looked toward it. Ethan climbed out. 2 large suitcases followed. He walked straight toward me, like the previous month had never happened. I've been thinking. I folded another box shut. I'm sure you have. I'm moving in. Silence. Then Marcellus burst into laughter so loud, one of the movers nearly dropped a lamp. No, I said. You can't abandon everything we built. You abandoned it first. I made mistakes. So did I. He looked hopeful. You admit it? My mistake was believing love meant accepting disrespect. He placed the suitcases beside the truck. I'm not leaving. I turned toward Marcellus. Would you call the police? Please. Ethan's confidence cracked. You wouldn't? Marcellus already had his phone out. I'm serious. So am I. Panic flashed across Ethan's face. Fina. I'll tell everyone your secret. I blinked. My secret. You cry during animated movies. One of the movers raised his hand. So do I. Another nodded. My wife cries before I do. Even Marcellus was wiping tears from laughing. Ethan looked around desperately. Fine. You said you loved me after only 3 weeks. Yes. And he searched for something devastating. Nothing came. Because there wasn't anything left to weaponize. The police arrived a few minutes later. The older officer recognized me immediately. Everything okay this time? I pointed toward the suitcases. My ex-boyfriend believes he can move into my apartment. The younger officer looked from me to Ethan. Is that accurate? I love her. The older officer sighed. That wasn't the question. After a short conversation, they explained that he was trespassing and needed to leave. For the first time since the breakup, he seemed to understand that every door was finally closed. He loaded the suitcases back into his car. Before getting in, he looked at me one last time. I really thought you'd come back. I answered quietly. I really thought you'd never make me choose. He drove away without another word. The rest of the move was peaceful. We unpacked boxes, ordered pizza, laughed about everything that had happened. That first night, I sat alone in my new living room, listening to something I hadn't realized I missed. Silence. Real silence. Not the silence before another argument. Not the silence after another apology. Just peace. Work slowly returned to normal. My coworkers stopped asking if I was okay, because the answer finally became yes. Sunday dinners continued exactly as they always had. My sister surprised me one evening with a chocolate cake that read, "You chose wisely." Mom laughed so hard, she had to wipe away tears. A few weeks later, mutual friends told me Ethan was dating someone new. I genuinely wished him well. Then I learned something ironic. His new girlfriend had an incredibly close relationship with her own family. She called her mother every morning. They vacationed together twice a year. Sunday lunches were mandatory. I smiled when I heard that. Life has a strange sense of humor. Patricia left my mother a voicemail, apologizing for everything, and suggesting all of us have dinner together someday. Mom listened to it once. Then, she quietly deleted it. Some invitations arrive far too late. Looking back, I don't regret choosing my mother. The truth is, I never really had to. Healthy love never demands that you erase the people who helped make you who you are. Anyone who asks you to prove your love by abandoning your family isn't asking for commitment. They're asking for control. And those two things are nothing alike.